growing
Sorry, I'm going to record
roots.
you. That's okay. Because your words are very relevant for all of us. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. I'm thinking about doing and non-doing, and being doing in the non-doing and so forth. But I'm thinking very much about anartha nivritti, false ego, and very difficult. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu balance to devotees when they started anartha nivritti. So that makes me happy. We are getting help while we are working on false ego. And yes, and what I can do now is growing deep roots. That's the only thing I'm thinking to myself.
What did you say? The only thing we can do is
grow deep roots.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes. And that's the only thing I can do at my position. I think. But the life teaches me much. Life, family life, teaches me much about myself. I found lots of, and I'm thinking about experiencing also. Learn by experiencing things. I can take very much knowing, but practice is very difficult. To practice what you know. So that's my work the last month, I think. Thinking very deeply about the roots and false ego and how strong it is, and how impossible it is to break loose.
Hearing your words is very soothing, actually, feels soothing to my soul. Because, why? Because you're speaking with sincerity. And that is actually, sincerity is such a great wealth. And so I'm hearing your words, and actually they feel very comforting to me, because you're speaking with real from the heart, authenticity. And actually, there isn't any quick answer, right? Or quick solution to this issue. That is the thing, right? All we can do is share our hearts and keep going, right? Keep going in good company. It is the only answer is Sharanagati, right? Surrender. And that is a long road, right? That is a long road. And
Yes.
generally in the beginning, when we start, we think, oh yes, no problem. And when we begin, we feel, when we begin, we're like children, and we think, oh yes, we will get it, and it'll all be very wonderful. But once you actually start to go into the practice, and once you actually start to face so many things within yourself that you didn't even know were there, then sometimes we can become hopeless, actually. Sometimes we can become hopeless. Oh, it's no good, and there's no end, it's never ending. And I was reflecting on this today as well. And then I opened up Sharanagati, and the verse that came up to me was, we were going through it recently in our Wednesday meeting, this Amar Anaka Jatan Hoilo Bifal Ekana Bada Shatumi. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that all of my own endeavors to conquer myself, they've been useless. And he says, and now
Yes.
you are my only hope. You know, you are my only hope, my Lord. You are my
Mm.
only hope. And when you began speaking, I also was thinking of another song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where he says a very nice line, Atma Samarpane Gela Abhiman. When I surrendered to you, my Lord, my Abhiman, my false ego, went far away. You know, it left me.
Mm.
And so, you know, we're given these clues, right? That Sharanagati is the only solution, the only real solution, because we can have some temporary solution, and you know, a lot of spiritual practices are focused on that angle, right? Attaining control of the senses, control of the mind. You know, the yoga systems, Buddhism. You know, also Shankara's lineage, right? There are many lines like that. They're focusing on self-control. And that can take you up to a point, but it's not a real, it's not a permanent solution. Eventually, you will lose that position of renunciation. And so what we are doing in Vaishnavism, we are tapping into the real solution, the permanent solution, but it's also more challenging because it is going right to the very root of the problem. It's not a temporary, you know, band-aid solution, but it's going right to the very core of it all. And this is addressed in the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. This Dharma, how does it go? The gosh, so out of it, I can't even remember the second verse of Bhagavatam, but it mentions their tapa try unmulanam. And what is that line? The paramo nirmat sadanam satam. But there's this line here. It is describing, you know, what is the three first verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. They're sometimes classified. I believe it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He gave this classification that these three first verses are describing Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojam. Right. So the first verse is Sambandha, right? Understanding what is the real nature of things, right? Who is the supreme? This is all Sambandha Gyan. And so the first verse of Bhagavatam is dealing with that. And then the second verse, which I'm so ashamed of myself, I'm mixing it up with another verse, and so my brain is mixed up, is thinking of another verse. Dharma Sunustitapam, so I'm thinking of that verse. But the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is dealing with Abhideya Tattva. What is the way? Right. And oh, Didi's with us. Thank you, Didi. Thank you, Didi. We're doing we're doing something a little different today because it is a smaller group, and I'm actually out. You can see I'm on the road and having some healing treatment here. So I'm not really in a book headspace. So Kirtida Didi brought up some nice topics. And welcome. So happy Suvas and Didi could join. And also Axel's joined us, Tungarasa, Dana. So yes, thank you so much, Suvasindi. Dharma projita kaita votra paramo nirmat saranam satam. And then what is it? Vedyam vastavam. And then so this verse is describing the purity of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is stating that only those who are free from envy will be able to appreciate this highest level of truth. And then it's describing how this Srimad Bhagavatam, it will tap try unmulanam, right? Tapa try is referring to the threefold miseries of material existence, which are mentioned throughout the scriptures, right? Adi Atmik, Adi Bautik, Adi Daivik. Adi Atmik, suffering that comes from within our own self. Adi Daivik, suffering that comes from the elements. And Adi Bautik, suffering that comes from other living entities, right? There's Suvasini Didi. So right, so this, it's a very interesting phrase. It's tapatrai, threefold suffering. It's saying this Srimad Bhagavatam, unmulanam. Mula means root. Mul means root. Like we went through the Dash Mul, right? 10 root principles of Mahaprabhu's conception. So the unmul, uproot. So all the suffering of this existence, the message, the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam will take it up from the very root, right? It's like if you have some weeds in your garden, and generally we just go and, you know, cut them from the top, right? But they will grow right back because the root's still there. And so in the same way, we have so many superficial remedies for suffering in this world, right? We're treating the ailments of the body and the mind and the ego, but behind all of that is the soul. The root of it all is with the soul. And so unless you're getting to that root issue, it's all temporary. It's all temporary. You can fix the body problem, fix the ego problem, mind problem. It will all come back because you haven't got to the root. So this message of Srimad Bhagavatam, it will take up all that suffering from the very root, from the very foundation. And then it also, there's also a very interesting word in this second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a little difficult to pronounce. Maybe Suvasini can pronounce it better, but Sushushubis. Can you pronounce that, Dee? I could never say it properly. You know that word, Sushushubis. I can't pronounce it. It's a tongue twister. It's a very interesting word. It's describing the process of hearing, but what's also implied is that one is hearing in a spirit of service, not just a passive hearing. There are a couple words in Sanskrit like that. There's another word also, which I cannot remember right now, but with a similar, it's used in a similar way. It's hearing, but not a passive hearing. It's an active, service-oriented hearing. You know the word I'm referring to, Suvasini Didi? Yeah. I'll put it in I'll put the verse in our chat. Okay. Dharma Projita. Bring it up here. Yeah, and our Gurudev once, he gave a very nice talk explaining this word, and he gave one example how he was speaking about Shyamananda Prabhu. You know, he was one of the, okay, I need to bring up Vedabase actually, that would be easier. Shyamananda, you know, there was this young trio of Narottam, Shyamananda, and Srinivas, and they all studied under Jiva Goswami in Vrindavan. And Gurudev mentioned that Jiva Goswami, he was teaching them, but he was also giving them, in particular, Shyamananda. I think Shyamananda may have taken initiation from him directly. I can't remember, but Gurudev mentioned this example, how Jiva Goswami gave this seva to Shyamananda to sweep around this kund, this body of water, some holy body of water. And so he had this seva, he's hearing as a student and, so many great scriptural matters, but also Jiva Goswami was engaging him in this humble service. Okay, I'm going to share in our chat here. Actually, why don't we do a screen share? Maybe that's easier. Okay, I'm going to do a screen share. A little more interactive. It's always nice. Yeah, so here, this word, Suvasini Didi, shubis. It's very difficult to pronounce.
Shushubi.
Okay, yeah, because the S is there because of the Sandhi. So
yeah, sha like yes with
here we go.
that shushubi.
Shushubi. So this is the word. Here in this word for word, it's put as a type of culture. So it's saying that one who can hear this message of Srimad Bhagavatam, with a clean heart, it will bestow all goodness upon them, uproot all the suffering of material existence, and then the Lord will be established within their heart. But yes, it uses this word. It's like by like listening, but also here it's put as culturing it, practicing it, cultivating it. Let me look at see where other hits we have for also because it's also hearing is also implied there. It's just an example of one of those words that here it's put as desiring to hear. So it's not it just doesn't here also desiring to hear. So it's this hearing, but with this it's active hearing, cultivation, hearing it and cultivating it. And now I'm thinking that Gyane Prayasham verse, I'm thinking there's a similar word in there too. Let me see, Gyane Prayasham. I'm just thinking here. 10, 14, 3. Yeah, we don't have these words in English. Here we go. I just want to look here. Jivanti samukha bhavadiya vartam sanesito shutigantam tanuvan manobir. Okay, well here it's kind of laid out a little more explicitly, like hearing it with one's mind, body, and words. Yeah, so it's kind of more explicitly saying like hearing and following actively, mentally, verbally. So yeah, this idea you come across in that hearing, but in this active sense, right? So anyhow, through this shushubi, this surrender is being implied here. And of course, at the back of that is this nirmatsar. This is an important point. Nirmatsaranam satam. Nirmatsar means free from envy, right? This has to be in the background of it. And actually, it's interesting because I was discussing this with Maheshwari just a little earlier today, one of the Hungarian devotees here, and she was saying that, she felt this was like the stumbling block for many practitioners, that because in Krishna consciousness and Vaishnavism, the practice of bhakti, the main point is actually about surrender and submission to the higher, right? And this is very difficult for many people. Very, very difficult. Many people are attracted to spiritual life, but there, the ego, the self-asserting ego is still in the forefront, where it revolves around me, right? This is the attraction of the Mayavad conception. It's about the I, right? And it's a little scary, you know, when you come across like different interpretations of Bhagavad Gita, for example, and it's like, it's not about Krishna, you know, but the Krishna within me, or the you know, I am Krishna, and all these ideas. So this is the point, and this, the root of this is actually envy, because we want to be in the center. We can't tolerate that there will be a higher entity than ourselves. It's you know, it's, someone wouldn't think of that as an expression of envy, but if you really break it down, that's what it is. It's a type of envy. How can I accept that there's a higher entity? I want to be number one, right? I want to be in the center. I want to, it has to all revolve. I want to be God too. I am God, right? I love the whole spiritual thing, you know, I love God, but only if I'm also God. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, I liked very much one way that he described this: no taxation without representation. He said it like that: no taxation without representation. In other words, I will only admit there to be a God if I also have a part of that, right? That I will also, you know, I won't pay my taxes unless I also have a say in things, right? I also have a place there. So yes, I'm fine with there being God, but I'm also God. So this is a tricky thing, right? This is what has to be behind this nirmatsar, this freedom from envy. And then there will also be this active service-oriented hearing, right? And surrender to these teachings and this message. So this second verse is described as the verse of Abhideya. What is the way? What is the practice? What is the mode of practice? And then the third verse is describing Prayojan Tattva, right? What is the goal? And that is very beautiful, sweet verse, right? Nigama kalpatadur galitam phalam shuka mukharamita java samyutam ibata bhagavatam rasam alayam muhur ahorasika bhuvi babukaha. Very beautiful. It compares the message of Srimad Bhagavatam to a ripe, juicy fruit without seed or skin. And it's a very nice analogy that's given. The scriptures, all of the Vedas, they're compared to a Nigama Kalpataru, wish-fulfilling tree. Right? What is that wish? And then there are commentaries from our acharyas which elaborate on this. What is that wish-fulfilling tree? It is granting the desires for dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, right? The general duty and piety, wealth, pleasure, and liberation, right? These are the four ends of human existence, which everyone consciously or unconsciously, you know, is desirous of. So the Vedas are granting all these wishes, but actually, that's not really the real answer. That's not fulfilling the need of the soul, right? And so Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they're coming with the fifth ends, Pancham Purushartha, that is prema, divine love. And so what is that? That is compared to the fruit on this tree, right? This tree, wish-fulfilling tree of the Vedas is granting these general desires of conditioned souls in this world. But what is actually, it's such a perfect analogy. What is the actual goal? What is the real goal of the Veda? It's something higher, right? Just like a mango, if you have a mango tree, What is the real purpose of that tree? To produce mangoes. So in other words, the Vedas are all actually leading you to this conclusion, right? Krishna Prema. So that is the fruit on this tree of the Vedas. And that's what this Srimad Bhagavatam is. And so that is, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kodi Swaparshada Sriya Dama Saha Avatadi Atyanta Durlabha Prema. This is the line. Atyanta Durlabha Prema Kodi Badedana Shikaya Sharanagati Bakatera Prana. So this is it. It's all there in those two lines. Atyanta Durlabha Prema Kodi Badedana. So Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is descended so mercifully in this world to uplift the souls of this world. And Atyanta Durlabha, he wants to give this very rare and precious gift of prema, divine love. But how? How can he actually give that? Shikaya Sharanagati Bakatera. So in order to distribute that gift of prema, he is spreading the teachings of Sharanagati. It's all there. Right? It's all there. In those two lines, everything. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is so brilliant. Just those two sweet, simple lines. He's encapsulating everything. So the real goal of life is prema, Krishna prema, divine love for that sweet, adorable form of the divinity. And how can we attain that? What is the real solution? Sharanagati, surrender. And what is that? What does that surrender actually mean? It means die to live. It means death. So this brings us back to Kirtina's original comments. It will be painful, it will be challenging, it will be difficult, because it's death. Real seva, real Sharanagati implies death. Death of the ego, death of the false self. Burning in the fire, self-sacrifice. So who's ready? Who's ready for that? Only some very select small group will be able to embrace that, right? Nowadays I see, in different spheres, Krishna consciousness is becoming popular, and and the kirtan movement is becoming very big, and but I see, some of these persons who have big followings, they're putting a different spin on this. And I can understand why, they don't want to scare people away. But if we're actually getting into what this actually is, it's death and slavery. Like, if we're actually gonna peel away the humanistic, covering, the pandering to our, self-centered, egoistic whims, if we peel away and actually look at what it is, it is that divine. But it is so wonderful at the same time. It is so wonderful. Death of the false self, right? And slavery to what? In Prapana Jivanamrita. Let's open it up right now. We have everything set up here. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, in that introduction, he describes it so beautifully, right? Slavery to the great force of love and beauty. So what a wonderful thing. And this is the thing, we can't get away from being slaves anyway. Right? And this is something that Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada would point out. Right? If we're not serving God, as he would say, we're serving dog. We're serving our children, our family, co-workers, our pets. We can't get, it's just that we like to be in this illusion of mastery, right? And so, oh yes, I'm serving, but on my own terms. But we can't actually get away from that nature. It is because that is our constitutional nature. Oh, what? Okay, I'm sorry the internet dropped out for a minute there. But maybe I'll make maybe Suvasini, I'll make you a co-host just in case. Oh, I can't seem to make you a co-host. I just see an option to make you a host. Okay, well, never mind. Oh yeah, so I wanted to read this this beautiful section from Prapana Jivanamrita. Yeah, so it is, yeah, that's what you're saying, right? Actually, we cannot get away from this nature to be a servant, to be a loving servant. We can't avoid it. It has to come out, it has to be expressed in some way. And so this is actually the highest expression of our true nature, is loving servants of the Absolute. And let's see if we can find it right now. Here we go. This is so wonderful, this foreword to Prapana Jivanamrita. It's like it's a summary of everything, you know, beginning, middle, and end. And it's very nice too, because it's also in context. It's in context of other views on the nature of reality and the goal, right? So it's a very helpful overview of what is Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And so I wanted to, it's quite long. So I just wanted to, I really love that, that line here. Here it is. So this overview here, it was collected from different talks of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, as I understand. And it covers everything so nicely, and it's gradually leading up to this conclusion of you know, of divine love for Sri Krishna as the highest end. And so this line here, this is what I was thinking of. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose sweetness and magnanimity combined, openly announced that we are all natural slaves of the highest entity. That this is slavery to the great force of love and beauty, right? So this is the key point. This is slavery to the great force of love and beauty. It is the greatest fortune to be utilized in any way by the absolute existence, knowledge, and beauty, to be in harmony with the highest center. No one is forced or barred, but this is the soul's intrinsic nature. And this is what gives us encouragement, actually, to continue. It is such a sweet and high ideal of life. And it, you know, we're in many ways, we're fighting with our own selves. It is like an addiction, right? When someone has some addiction, then it's a long road to recovery, right? Because you want something that is not good for you. You want something that you don't actually want and that you don't actually need. It is a false desire. And so that's our condition, right? We have an addiction to the illusory energy. Actually here, I think also Srila Sridhar Maharaj describes that very nicely too. The spirit of exploitation, it's like a exploitation, it's like a type of intoxication within our system. It's some external you know, element that has entered our system at present. And so naturally, when we're trying to move away from us, move away from us, we are, in a sense, our false self. So when we're trying to move away from that, naturally there's going to be resistance, right? The urges of the mind, the body, the ego, the senses. Naturally, there's going to be resistance and there's going to be pain. And it's also, there's also no quick solution. Just like there are some drugs, you know, like heroin, right? If you have a serious addiction, you can't just cut it. You could die, right? And so people have to take this artificial substance because their body is so addicted, they can't live without it anymore. So it is like that, the spirit of exploitation. We have an addiction to it, which expresses itself in many different ways, some subtle, some gross, some things that we wouldn't think of as exploitation, is some subtle form of exploitation or renunciation, right? One of those two. And some of them may be in the garb of spirituality, right? But actually it is something else. So it's very tricky. So many subtle, gross and subtle layers within us, right? Which are anti-Krishna, which are taking us away. So it is a long process. It's not something to be taken lightly, right? It is something we are told may take hundreds, thousands of lifetimes for full purification. So, but you know, when we can have some good association, you know, when we can hear about the sweet ideal of Krishna consciousness, you know, then we, as Srila Sridhar says in one place, why worry about the result when the process is so nice, right? There's also, there's some light at the end of the tunnel. The normal, wholesome, and happy plane is in the life of dedication, without exploiting or borrowing anything from the environment, and without attempting to artificially renounce it. One who is sincere to dedicate himself naturally comes into contact with the higher and more subtle plane of life. By his readiness to give and serve, he will attain to a higher society and achieve an appropriate master. It's all of these things. It's just so common sense. The enjoying spirit forces one to be associated with the lower section to control and enjoy. Anyone who has some clear vision, non-biased vision, they must accept this. I think I'm going to switch to another internet connection because this one seems to be a little unstable. Sorry, 1 second. If anyone wants to share some reflections, I'll be very, very happy. We'll all be very happy to hear. We started with some very nice, heartfelt reflections from Yurtida. Okay. Setting up a hotspot. Let's see if I can connect here. The enjoying spirit forces one to be associated with the lower section to control and enjoy. And the renouncing spirit allures even the scholars with its prestigious superiority over exploitation. Thus, it is more dangerous, just as a half-truth is more dangerous than a falsehood. And there's another seva, service, dedication is the summum bonum of the teachings of the Vaishnava school, the third plane of life, where every unit is a dedicating member in an organic whole. In such a normal adjustment, everyone mutually assists one another in their service to the center, the higher recipient, the highest entity. Everything is existing to satisfy him, because he must possess this qualification to be the absolute. Here it is. This is the line I was thinking of. The spirit of exploitation is a foreign force, an intoxicant, a miscalculation that surrounds his independence. Wow. I mean, it's just incredible, isn't it? Srila Sridhar Maharaj's language, how precise, how perfect everything is articulated. So, wow, I feel so uplifted to discuss these topics, feeling some hope, feeling some optimism. What is the positive reality in immortality? This actually could make a nice booklet, couldn't it? Just this forward, it can just totally stand on its own. It's a very nice overview and introduction, very systematic. And I like also this point, right, that the positive side of immortality, it is largely neglected in religious views, right? And this is the topic of Prapana Jivanamrita, right? What is the expression of the immortal being? You know, once we become free of the negative side, like then what, right? And only Vaishnavism is really giving an answer for that. What will be the nature, movement, and progress of that which is immortal? Without this understanding, immortality is only an abstract idea. How are the immortal? What is the positive conception of immortality? What is the positive reality in immortality? This is the specialty, the special point about Vaishnavism, right? It is addressing that point, and we don't hear that anywhere else. Clearly, in a clear way, in a detailed way, we don't hear about that. With a broad vision, we must know ourselves to be created of smaller stuff, and thus only with assistance from above can we improve our situation and achieve a position in that. See, this is it. It's about honesty, isn't it? Sharanagati, like common sense will tell you that we need Sharanagati. That we need, it is common sense, it's honesty. We must admit our inability, our fallibility, our helplessness. We must realize our helplessness. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he frames that so nicely, right? In that famous discussion that took place in Karachi, right? When he was challenged in that conference. Oh, how can you know the infinite? You know, how can you know the absolute? You are finite beings. How is it possible? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, yes, you are right. It's not possible for the finite to know the infinite. However, the infinite, if the infinite is truly infinite, has infinite means at his disposal, and he will have some way of making himself known, right? By his own free will, not according to our demands, but it must come from his side. So that's the point, right? How can we attract that? How can we attract that attention from above? That mercy from above. We are small, finite, tiny, fallible beings. So that is also the challenge, the search in Sharanagati, the question, how can we prove our helplessness? How can we prove our neediness? How can we attract that merciful glance from above? That is the mission in our practice of Sharanagati. Well, I'm very happy that we could discuss these topics. Definitely what I needed to hear. So thank you for bringing it up to And I'd love to hear from others. I don't know if Suvasan wants to share anything.
Well, also Guru Maharaj is on this in Search for Sri Krishna. He discusses this, all these things, this like the foreign things, in our heart. They are actually, they don't have a firm footing. That's mushrooms, isn't it? They he says that all these foreign, they are like mushrooms, and so it's us more and more. He says Krishna consciousness enters in our heart, and they will all float like mushrooms. They are all, they don't have firm footing. All the material interests and desires we have, and so it is the only thing we can do is like cultivate more and more on the positive side, just like getting more association and discuss like we do, discuss the things, and more developing more and more attraction for that, that is all we can do, isn't it? So those things, will have to, it's very beautiful. In that section, Guru Maharaj discusses these things, right? Now, whatever we have like stored in our heart, thinking that's so precious, everything, all this, isn't it? All things, when Krishna enters the heart, however we are stored very protected way, all these things. All these things will come out, will all go out. And also, so nice is like Krishna enters for his own interest. That is also very hopeful for us, isn't it? Like a point, I really love that. It's Krishna is a thief. A thief. He says that a thief doesn't require any invitation. So he will capture the heart for his own interest. That's our hope also. It's just like Krishna, please, please capture our heart somehow.
Very beautiful, Didi. Very encouraging words, sweet words of encouragement. Yes.
Yeah, Guru Maharaj, beautiful words from Guru Maharaj is like very, and I like that section. I like that chapter, Krishna conception, in Search for Sri Krishna. It's like a very, very encouraging, that part. Yeah.
There's that verse on that famous verse of Rupa Goswami, right? Defining what is pure devotion. Anya bilashita shanyam jnana karma dhyanavritam and anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. And this word avritam, right, means like coverings, and it refers to all these things, these tendencies for karma, jnana, exploitation, renunciation as coverings, right? And that is very encouraging to remember that, as Didi is saying, right? Like mushrooms that have no firm rooting in the soil. They're coverings. They don't represent the true self. And so in this process of purification, right, what is our own wealth? It will become more prominent. But we always have to plug in, right? Always have to plug in to that positive current, and expose ourselves to the purifying ray of Krishna consciousness that's coming through the Vaishnavas, through the Lord, through Shravan, Kirtan, right? There was one very beautiful line of our Gurudev. He expressed it about the deities in Sokel. He said that we must present ourselves before their merciful adjusting ray. A merciful adjusting ray. It's such a beautiful expression. When we come into the light of what is the true conception of Krishna consciousness, when we come into the light of the hearts of the Vaishnavas, when we come into the light of the deity, Guru, Sadhu, there's this purifying, merciful, adjusting ray. Is adjusting us, adjusting our hearts, adjusting our conception. So it is so important, because when we are just living in our own mind, we can go in all kinds of directions and we can become very hopeless, right? But when we make that connection, right, we plug in, it can be almost immediate, actually, the shift takes place. Like Gurudev, he gave the analogy of like dunking, someone being dunked in water. You're underwater, then coming up for air. Sometimes, we can feel like coming underwater, right? Being subdued by our lower self, and then coming up for air and being exposed to the light of Krishna consciousness. So, and this is actually what sadhana is about. A life of sadhana where we're forcing ourselves to go taste the nectar, because sometimes we don't want to drink the nectar. So sadhana means that discipline, that you're going to get up and do it even when you don't feel like it, and when you actually do it, you always appreciate it. Anyway, thank you all so much for sharing your hearts and realization. It's very, very encouraging. Let's see, Axel has a comment here. Without tuning into the divine current, we're like the leaves and twigs separated from the tree. No matter how much we try to water the leaves and twigs, they will never be nourished. Oh, very beautiful, Axel. And I know Axel's going to be driving tomorrow to our Sokel Seva Ashram to join the festivities there. We wish you a beautiful festival and all the good association there. All right, well, maybe we'll end for today, unless anyone else wants to add anything. Happy to be here with all of you. Oh, thank you, Sulalita. Happy to have your sweet presence with us. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Raksha Shri Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers Ki Jai. Jai Suvasini Didi Ki Jai. Dandavats to all. Dandavat Krishna and Jani Didi. We're so happy to have you with us. Okay, well, I hope you all have a beautiful weekend. I'm actually traveling to London tomorrow, so I'll be on a different time zone. But of course, the meetings will go on at the same time, and yeah, so we'll continue with everything next week. Unfortunately, we couldn't do our Tuesday meeting, just some mix up with the hosting, but everything should be going on as usual next week. Okay, well, any last announcements from anyone? You're not traveling anywhere, Suvasini Didi, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm coming to London in August, but that will be after your visit here. Yeah. But yeah. So look forward to that. Yeah, your visit. It's coming up soon. It's yeah, and so I will also maybe chat to you about the the things in India trip, and I know I want to
Right.
just talk a brief later, maybe